God's love, elevating, energizing, empowering. Miracles happen when you know that you are loved. Peter Youngren has communicated God's love with millions from every religion and culture. Get ready for your ultimate life because you are loved.
Thank you for tuning in this week. Great to be with you in your home. I have a special guest today from Pasadena, California, Greg Albrecht. Welcome to our program today.
Peter, thank you. Thank you. A joy to be here.
Well, joy to have you. And our theme is, of course, our name is You Are Loved. And I think even today when we're discussing the book of Revelation, it will show something of God's love, because that's where we're going today, to the book of Revelation. Maybe you think it's all judgment and wrath and blood and killing. Well, my guest today, I think, has some pretty good insights that might make you mad, but hopefully is going to make you glad. So, Greg, first of all, just something about yourself. You are involved in a ministry called Christianity Without Religion. So just give me the 30-second synopsis of that.
Christianity without the religion, Peter, is, when I say religion, I mean any systematic or methodological way of doing something, practicing something, performing rituals that at the end of the day, one is told, upon having done all of these things, one is going to have a relationship with God or enhance one's relationship with God. I believe that is all religion, as opposed to Christianity, which is about the grace of God and the relationship we are given with Him by His grace.
Now, you know, we have another program with you where we discuss this, because you have an incredible story coming from a cult into a relationship with Jesus Christ. But so I won't go there right. Let's stay with the book of Revelation.
All right.
So first of all, in your book, and by the way, we're going to offer you all of Greg Albrecht's teachings here on this topic of the book of Revelation in our Bible college. You get all the 8 sessions on CD, just like this, and you get his book, Revelation Revolution. So I'm going to cut to the chase. One of your chapter headings, if my memory serves me right, says Rapture, and then I think it says religious fear factor, question mark. You know, well, what are you talking about?
Well, fear factor, when I wrote the book, was I believe, a television program. I only saw it basically quickly. I always saw the title. I really don't even remember what it was about.
In fact, yes, that's true.
But Fear Factor, I loved the title. And so I was writing the book and I thought, Rapture, it is a fear factor. Now, people who are watching who believe in the rapture, let me just first of all clear this up. I'm simply saying we should examine the rapture teaching, which is a fairly modern innovation in the body of Christ over the last 2,000 years.
Okay, I could just see the television sets were turning off right there. Some of my best supporters just stopped right there.
That's why you invited me, wasn't it?
Keep listening, keep listening, keep listening. All right, and so you're saying this is being used,
yes, in
a way that engenders fear.
Yes. I saw you getting nervous about it.
You know, I had to overcome my nervousness before I invited you here. And let me say, I'm not necessarily, you and I see eye to eye on everything,
no,
but we are wonderful brothers in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen to that.
And now the book of Revelation, you're sharing, and by the way, I read your whole book before I invited you here. I want to say that.
I hope you did.
I'm not exempting myself in any way from
there will be a test later, by the way, for you.
Let's just not even keep talking about this anymore. So I would say you describe the book of Revelation, at least one of the dimensions is a battle between religion and what I would call the people of God, or I might call them the Jesus followers.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit as a theme.
Well, one of the problems that people have with the book of Revelation is that we start to look at the when of Revelation, the details of Revelation, the literal meaning of symbols and colors and numbers, which are not a feature of the genre, the literary type in which it's written. It's written in apocalyptic genre. So it needs to be understood symbolically. So when we over literalize it, it becomes something that it is not. And then we make the book of Revelation into a when. When is all this going to happen? Or when did it happen? But most of the time it's when will it? Instead of it being about the who with a capital W.
I like that.
About Jesus. And so it is Christology, not chronology, we need to use when we read and study and proclaim the book of Revelation.
Now this comes in one of the first chapters of the book. Because I remember when I was reading this, of course, immediately my mind went to the verse in the book of Revelation where it says this is the revelation of Jesus Christ. So it is the revelation of the who.
It is. It is the revelation of the who. And it's not only the revelation of the who, it's about the who. So he authors it, and he's the subject, he's the main topic. It's really all about Jesus. And when we read it apart from Jesus, and apart from that emphasis, we wound up with a distorted message. And much of that has to go back with the fear factor. People get afraid, people get worried that they're not doing something they ought to be doing.
Now, for those who didn't switch the channel, their minds are turning now. They're thinking the beast, they're thinking the 144,000, they're thinking about the plagues of wrath, they're thinking about the trumpets, they're thinking about Babylon. Well, we're not going to get to all of that. This is a half-hour program.
Yep.
But they're thinking, how is Jesus revealed in that? And that's what I think is so amazing. If I can say, we'll give you in a moment how to get a hold of these 8 lessons that you taught right here, and this book, and we have it at a very good price, but it's a whole different way of looking at this. Let me follow through here. Babylon is a word associated, or in very close to the same place. It talks about Babylon, the great whore, the harlot.
Yes.
And in one place it says, Babylon has fallen. What does that mean?
Well, Revelation is a study, and this is again a feature of apocalyptic literature, a feature of contrasts and comparison. Throughout the book, we are shown and we read comparisons. We have colors comparisons. We have white for purity and righteousness, and we have red or scarlet for evil, something pernicious. We have the city of Jerusalem, and we have the city of Babylon. We have the whore. We have the bride of Christ. On and on these comparisons go. Babylon is a symbol, and again a symbol. We're not looking for a literal place on earth right now, but we're looking at a symbol of a great false religious system. Some people will track with me well on that and say, "Oh yes, I know one. But it's certainly not mine." Well, maybe
Never
that's
mind.
true. Maybe that's true, but it's probably bigger than some people might think. Than when I say it's a symbol of a great false religious system. I'm talking bigger than people might be thinking on that topic.
Let me drill a little deeper there on that. When you talk about bigger, can you be more specific? What would be the characteristic of the Babylon or the harlot in the book of Revelation? What characteristics?
Throughout the book of Revelation, we're going to read, if we read it from a Christ-centered perspective, of a Babylon-like system, religious system that seduces, that entices. Now we're thinking of all of the words that would fit the whore, that seduces, that entices, that confuses and befuddles those who follow it. So essentially we're talking about false promises. We're talking about schemes and manipulative devices. We're talking about a system that is really more interested in what you can give than what it can give you. It's talking about using you and abusing you. So the whole scenario of this symbol is an apt one, and it's throughout the book of Revelation. And it has to do with Christ-less religion.
Christless religion. So now, let me go take a step further here. I want to ask you to commit yourself. Would it be possible that you could have, as strange as it seems, Christless Christianity? Obviously, Christ's name is in the name Christianity, so I understand it's an oxymoron to talk like that. But how would you address that? Is it possible for Christianity to lose Christ?
Well, you're probably familiar, and some of your viewers are familiar with the old axiom that simply going to a building and going to church will not make you a Christian any more than going out and sitting in the barn will turn you into a cow.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So Christless religion is the idea that people may think they're doing the right thing, may be behaving in a proper way, may be doing the moral things they feel are necessary to be a Christian, but in fact there's something missing, and they may be deceived, they may be deluded. And so, yes, it's quite possible for a person to be in a general Christian environment, in or out of a church, attending or not attending a church, and be in Christless religion when they think they are, in fact, in Christianity. It's quite possible, and that's one of the themes of the book of Revelation. Now, that may seem negative, that may seem problematic, but the whole story of the book of Revelation is hope.
In a moment, I'm going to ask you about the Antichrist, 666, seals. We're going to get to all that as much as we can.
All right.
But obviously, I realized before I got onto the set here, and I pondered the task at hand, which is to give a little bit of an appetizer about what I found to be an astounding insight that you share in this book.
Yes.
And that's why I asked you to come to our Bible Institute here and give this teaching, which I have. And then to top it off and get your pen ready there at home right now, because I'm going to give you some information in just a moment. You had also printed out amazingly helpful material and about the book of Revelation here and some articles. I'm going to put it all in the package.
Okay.
So if you have your, before I ask questions now about the Antichrist or the beast and all that, have your paper and pen ready, and you might say, at least I want to expose myself to this. Maybe there's something I had missed here. How is the who Jesus Christ revealed in all those stories of all those things and the way I've always understood the book of Revelation? How is Jesus revealed in that? Well, and Greg Albrecht has some amazing insights. So we're going to it's going to take about 15 seconds, and this announcement will be over. So get ready with your pen. Here we go.
Many who've read or heard of the book of Revelations are often left confused about its meaning or terrified by its implications. Greg Albrecht banishes confusion and fear by planting the cross of Christ in the midst of what he calls misleading and irrelevant interpretations, and sheds a gospel light on the misconceptions that surround the end times. Join Greg for this eye-opening exploration into the book of Revelations. You'll get 8 lessons recorded at World Impact Bible Institute, plus his book, Revelation Revolution. This series is available to you today for only $59, including shipping and handling. Call 1-877-974-7223 or go online to peteryoungren.org.
Just when we're talking about those 8 lessons you just gave, and you really kind of walked into the studio from the last of those.
Right.
How did you find that being in the school?
I'll tell you, that was great fun, Peter. I used to teach in the classroom a lot. And the people in the classroom today, both I think there were regular students of the Institute, and there were probably some people auditing it, or as special students, if you like.
That's right.
Great fun. It was, now, to be honest, I don't think I realized when I walked onto the set today that that was part of the offer. And so you're probably going to catch me, or the viewers will, in a few more candid moments. Then, but no, that's great. That's great.
I thought maybe you knew that, but I was sitting in on 2 of the 8 lessons.
Yes, yes.
And not that I didn't need all 8 of them, but I had read your book, and I so much enjoyed those, because what you gave of yourself shows this incredible journey that you've had in understanding the book of Revelation.
Right.
Because you came from a whole other world.
Yes.
I mean, you knew when Jesus was coming, if he was coming. You knew when.
I knew it.
You knew it all.
But he didn't.
Well, we just had a few months ago, we had a time in September that everything was supposed to happen, and all that stuff didn't happen in September. Nobody has apologized.
That's right. That's typically what happens.
Yeah, nobody has apologized about the Shemitah 4 blood moon happenings that were supposed to unfold last September. I don't know.
Yep.
I guess we go on to the next prediction.
Well, right. In fact, we do, and there's a reason why we do, and we talk about that in the book. There's a systemic methodology going on in people's minds that drives them to go back to the same old wheel again, and they're going to come to the same conclusion. And as you realize and know that that's one of the definitions of insanity, doing the same old thing over and over and over again, hoping for a different result. But no, it doesn't happen with predictive prophecy.
You're inspiring me, Greg, so I'm going to put it this way. For all of you wonderful people that are Shemitah enthusiasts and blood moon enthusiasts, and I know many of you love God with all your heart.
Yeah.
But it didn't quite happen like you thought it would. Some took off and left the United States for that month, waiting for the judgment to sweep over. And maybe God is even more wonderful than you think. Maybe studying this material could be a blessing to you.
Can I comment on that, Peter?
Yes. Yeah.
Those of you who are listening, this is not just an academic exercise. This is not just some author who is pontificating about something that we leave in the library or the pastor's study. These ideas have real consequences in people's lives. I have seen it, and the consequences can be negative. In fact, it can be tumultuous. People can walk away from faith in God because they've seen some erroneous, misleading interpretation of Revelation, which has taken hold of their life. They've made decisions of their life based upon predictions. And then it doesn't come to pass. Who do they blame? They blame God. Mm-hmm. So this is an extremely important topic that where the rubber hits the road, consequences.
I know for a fact one man who in August sold his life insurance, cashed it in because prophets had said that the dollar would collapse in September. Yeah. And that's a devastating thing. He can't get that back at the same rate. So I promised to ask about the Antichrist.
All right.
Because, 666 is a big topic. And so you have a chapter in your book. I had to smile a little bit. Where I think it's called Beast of the Month.
Beast of the Month.
And I thought, well, I'll just say Antichrist of the Month. And
Antichrist of the Month.
I'm not reading too much into it. What are you talking about in that chapter, Beast of the Month?
All right, first of all, let's talk about the Antichrist briefly. The Antichrist in the book of Revelation, or frankly anywhere, is exactly what it says. Antichrist. Now, if we look literally into the book of Revelation and we try to find somebody alive today who is the Antichrist, we're barking up the wrong tree. There have been many Antichrists. In fact, religion, Christless religion itself, is an Antichrist. So the Antichrist identification is we're going off into the deep woods now. We need to stay with a Christ-centered focus. Why do I have the Beast of the Month Club?
We're not signing you up for that, by the way. Okay.
I conjectured that during my lifetime, when I believed in premillennial dispensational prophecy, a variant of that introduced by a man named Darby in the early 1800s. When I believed that, I actually believed in so many beasts that I could make a calendar and each one could be the calendar boy of each month. And the reason I did was because one was selected by a predictive preacher, but then that one would die. So a new one had to be selected, and then that one would live for a while and rose to some political prominence as having a earth-shaking impact in the world, and then he would die. So a new one had to be selected. In fact, if your listeners have been around for a long time, they could probably make their own Beast of the Month Club up if they've been into that kind of prophetic interpretation.
I have a few come to mind, from King Carlos of Spain to Gorbachev to Kissinger and Saddam Hussein and, oh, don't forget Gaddafi. He's a more recent one.
And I believe Gorbachev had the birthmark or something, and there was something special.
Oh.
I forget even about that. Well, that was that the mark of the beast? That could have been. I'm not kidding.
Let's be nice now. But sometimes you don't know whether to laugh
Yes.
or joke or whether to cry, because it's so sad
Yes.
to me when Christians who could pour their energies into something much
Yes.
more productive,
Yes.
they get so caught up in how does that work? Why is it that somebody hears a prediction at such and such a time, whether it's the Lord is coming on that day, and then they must realize, you would think, you look at the calendar, well, date came and gone.
Yes.
Why do they fall for it again?
We are creatures, we love to have black and white assurances about life. We don't like ambiguity. We want things clear. We like things predicted. We want to know what's going to happen. We have a curiosity factor that we would love to know what's going to happen. When someone comes along and presumes to tell us that, then another gear kicks in. And this gear is the, I'm special. I'm a little bit better than other. I know secret knowledge. In the early church, it was called gnosis or Gnosticism. I have secret information now, and I can tell other people, and I can help them, and they're probably going to be quite impressed with my secret knowledge that I have. And so there are many reasons why this literalistic interpretation of the book of Revelation and all of the predictions, I call it prediction addiction, because it's like a drug. It takes a hold, and people have to, well, when's the next thing that's going to happen? Well, I want to know. And so they'll turn to a prophecy teacher.
Every preacher has heard that.
Yes, what's the next best thing? What's the next thing in prophecy?
When I read your book here, Revelation Revolution, I get the sense, because you're showing Jesus in all the book, all the book.
Yes.
It's really a book of victory.
Yes.
Not of blood and genocide and killing and judgment. It's a book of victory. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's a book of victory. It's a book of hope. It's a book of encouragement written originally to Christians who were undergoing unbelievable persecution for their faith. That was the first audience. But beyond that, it's transcended 2,000 years of people who have fallen by the wayside fallen into various predictive, habitual habits of, as I said, prediction addiction, who have fallen for something far less than Revelation talks about. What Revelation talks about is Jesus. He is the center of the story. One person told me, well, I don't even preach Revelation, the pastor said, because first of all, I don't understand it, and secondly, it's way too dangerous. Well, it can be understood. It is dangerous, there's no question about that. But properly understood, it's about Jesus, and the message of hope far transcends the violence. And by the way, the violence in the book, when you read that, you're going to find that that is violence not sent upon people by God, but so much so that it is the violence caused by people to each other in the name of God, perhaps, maybe even in the name of religion, in the name of national entities and religious entities. But this is something that God is not to be blamed for. But it is happening in our world today, right now, and will continue to, and has been happening. Our holy wars, all of those kinds of things. Horrible bloodshed, yes. Above it all, there is hope and victory in Christ.
Well, that's beautiful. And in that sense, the book of Revelation becomes a source of comfort for Christians in all ages, all times, all circumstances that are facing difficulties. And let me say, for you watching, you say, well, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that what does God look like? And sadly, through the book of Revelation, some get a very negative image of God, a very vindictive, petty, small, vengeful God. And some of you say, Peter, you're already in enough hot water. You're teaching God's grace and so much, and now you brought this gentleman in. Well, we're not on a crusade about making points or scoring theological points and who is right and one-upmanship and this verse says this. No, but I am concerned how people see God, to see God revealed in Jesus. And Greg, I think you've done a great service by writing this book.
Thank you.
Great service to the body of Christ. And even if you say, I don't know if I believe any of this, I'm going to hold on to what I always believe, open up your mind and say, you know what? I sense those gentlemen there, they love God, and let's see if I missed something. And so, again, I got one more final question for you, but here is that short announcement. Get your pen and paper ready.
Many who've read or heard of the book of Revelations are often left confused about its meaning or terrified by its implications. Greg Albrecht banishes confusion and fear by planting the cross of Christ in the midst of what he calls misleading and irrelevant interpretations, and sheds a gospel light on the misconceptions that surround the end times. Join Greg for this eye-opening exploration into the book of Revelations. You'll get 8 lessons recorded at World Impact Bible Institute, plus his book, Revelation Revolution. This series is available to you today for only $59, including shipping and handling. Call 1-877-974-7223 or go online to peteryoungren.org.
I really want you to have this. I think you'll benefit greatly from it, and we try to make it accessible. You got all the 8 lessons here, plus the Q&A. There was questions and answers that the students had for you, and overtime, way overtime every day. So all that is recorded so the people at home get the benefit of we were stretching the hours there. And Greg Albrecht's book, Revelation Revolution. Plus, I'm just putting in the handouts that you personally provided for the students, which are so very, very helpful. Quickly, you got about 20 seconds for this. And then, call for the material. Just get to your phone and call it. The seals. You have one chapter called Sealed from Religion.
That's exactly right. Sealed by Jesus Christ from the horrible impact of false religious teaching and practice. That's what these seals are about. But again, you got to read the book.
Okay, let me use these last 10 seconds. Order the material. I believe you get a fresh insight of how wonderful God revealed in Jesus is. And remember, you are loved.
C'est Jésus. Et pour la main, Jésus doit ça. For the new life. Pour la nouvelle vie. Au nom de Jésus. Jésus là. Sors. In Jesus' name. Au nom de Jésus. Jesus' name.
Thank you. Your partnership makes this ministry possible. To share your prayer request or to help bring the good news of Jesus Christ to thousands who have never heard, call 1-877-974-7223. You can give at www.peteryoungren.org or send your gift to World Impact Ministries at P.O. Box 2108, Vista, California 92085, 2108 or 190 Railside Road, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, M3A 1A3. Together, let's give everyone a chance to hear the gospel.